It's not something that you want to live. And it's something that's very easy to move away. It really is. It is the commitment to understanding, make your decisions in response.
Key number one, primary element for the generator: make your decisions in response. It is the timing of life that will bring to you what you need. And in response, your sacral will orchestrate the whole universe according to what is best for you.
If there is no one to ask you, there is no decision to be made. Understand that. Decisions are not something that's up to your mind. It is going to lead you astray. It's going to take you away from your life. And I know how that sounds. Oh, yeah, I'm going to wait to be asked, blah, blah, blah. But you see, you cannot be half pregnant in this game. You're either waiting or you're not waiting. You can't wait sometimes. It's not about that. You see, it's about geometries, fractal lines, movement in space.
I can tell you one thing as a generator is that to wait sometimes creates a lot of extra frustration. Because it's like sometimes I'm in alignment with my true self and I trust who I am, and other times I'm not in alignment, and in that experience of not being in alignment, now I can really feel the difference. Now I can really feel that frustration, and I know it doesn't belong to me. Now I no longer have the energy to fulfill what is out of alignment anymore. That's a profound shift to experience. No longer having the energy to force myself to do things incorrectly for me. When I was younger, I could barrel right on through, do all this stuff I don't care about for other people, because I have all this energy. And then as life continues, hold on, I'm learning more and more about who I am and what I'm here to do. And I don't have energy to do the things that I'm not here to do, plain and simple. And so if I try to do that half of the time or some of the time, creates more and more frustration.
When you're correct, you begin to interact with forces that are correct for you. I was on tour in America, and sometime, I don't know, 98, I think, and I was in Wyoming, of all places, in one of these horrendous places for the super rich, kind of looked like Siberia with Starbucks. Very strange place. And anyway, I was staying at this generator's house, and she was quite enamored of having me in her house. And she was very interested, obviously, in being able, at one level or another, to take advantage of that. Have conversations, talk about her design, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And each morning, and as I would wake up and come into the main room of the house, she would be there, and she would immediately start a conversation with me. And so I ignored her. And this went on for days. And boy, was she ever getting annoyed. Eh? I mean, downright angry. She was already telling people that it was a horrendous mistake to have me in her house, that I was a terribly rude man, that I was totally unresponsive to her, and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, the second to last day that I'm staying there, I get up in the morning, I come into the kitchen, she's there, and she is as stone cold and icy as you can imagine, right? Showing me the shoulder, the whole business, right? And in my sweetest manifestor voice, I said, "Good morning," and she was so angry. And she turned around with that look in her eye, and I said to her, I don't answer you when you start. This is not working. I'm a manifestor. If you talk to me and I don't want you to talk to me, I am not going to pay any attention to you. The hell do I care that you have something to say? It's going to be a lie anyway. It's going to be full of all kinds of nonsense. I mean, if I want to communicate with you, I'll say hello. How are you today? You know? And then you can tell me that you don't like me. That's okay. But I'll believe your answer. You see, for a generator to grasp what it means, if you'll make a decision in response, it's real. It's real. It's honest. It's true. And because generators are so dependent on others in their life, if you cannot make a clear decision about the other, you're just taking in their aura, absorbing them, taking in the conditioning, being dragged away from what is right for you. And you got to get rid of the fear that nobody's going to ask you. It's in the aura. Any generator can experiment with this. You're out with some people and you're sitting like typical Ibiza life. You got a cafe, you sit down. As an experiment, don't say anything. Just to see what happens. Immediately, everybody notices. Instantly notices, because you've got an enveloping aura. Well, what do you think? They will say to you. They will bring you in. You have to let them. And then you get to see who's there for you and who isn't. You see, if they don't ask you, they're not for you. They will never be for you. They will never see you. They will never respect you. They will never care about you. They will use you as slaves all your life, or as long as they can. Because the only reason that you would be in that relationship is that your mind told you it was okay. Your mind doesn't go to bed with people. Your mind has no idea what it's getting involved in and doesn't care. It'll try anything, any this or that, within reason, depending on the way you are and how you're raised. It doesn't care about you. Doesn't. I mean, the only thing in this life that you're ever going to be able to trust is that response within you, because it is never going to lie.
And a note about that response and the experiment he was just talking about. This idea that generators walk into a group aura, or they enter a space and they wait for the other to invite them in or to give them something to respond to. Well, if I look at that very, very technically, from the mental perspective that I could get about this, is that if we're all generators around other generators and everybody's waiting to respond, it becomes another mental program. It becomes another trap of the mind to try and control the body and control the life. And so finding more of a middle way path for this is in allowing the body to live its life. And so if you notice that you walk up to a group and something comes out of your mouth, hey, something just happened. Perhaps you were responding to what you heard. Perhaps you were responding to a vibration somebody around you has been resonating with. And so as an experiment to play with, yes, it can be quite fun to intentionally quiet down and wait to respond. However, that is not an excuse to mentally force yourself to not respond because you don't think you have been given something worthy of responding to yet. Whereas your body is living its own life. Like say for me personally, I'm a generator with all 4 of the motor centers defined together in one definition structure, from the heart or the ego into the solar plexus of the emotions, into the root of the adrenal glands, and up towards the sacral center of life force energy. All 4 of these energy centers are responsible for movement on the material plane. And so I find that my body has its own autopilot function. My body has all four of those centers responsible for movement defined together with a fixed energetic exchange. And if I allow that system to run itself, if I don't get in the way of it, things happen wonderfully. I don't have to force myself to, oh, is this a response? Is this an initiation? It's another mind trip. Is this response? Is this initiation? Am I doing something wrong? Am I allowing my mind to confuse my body? When if you're living your life, things flow in a natural and organic manner. And it's a worthy experiment to practice, trusting in that response, because as a generator, there is always something you're responding to. Your aura is always from the inside out. Your sacral is either expanding and going towards what lights you up, or it's contracting and it's going away from what does not light you up. Trust it. That's my suggestion.
It is never going to make a mistake. Never. And by the way, that doesn't mean that everything turns out rosy. It's not the way life is. But whatever you have to deal with in this life, you can deal with because you entered into it correctly, whether it's a relationship or a job or this or that, it doesn't matter. It takes courage to force the world to come to your door. Because this is what it is to be a generator. You demand respect. And you'll get it. You'll get it. It will come. It may surprise you. Well, that's okay too. It's not always what you think it should be. The mind, caught up in the conditioning, thinks that the ideal is this or that or the other thing, when in fact, your vehicle, your sacral, is only going to tell you what is correct for you. Different story. And only when you're living out that response do you begin to feel this satisfaction. How good it is to be a power being. How clean that energy can be.
I tell you what, I am about 6 or 7 years into my experiment now, and it has been so profound. The feeling on the inside, the reduction of resistance and the reduction of frustration within my system. I can hardly even imagine who I used to be and how I used to think about things and how I used to make decisions. I can hardly comprehend how I could have made a decision before, because now I know that I trust my sacral response over time as an emotional inner authority generator or a type. Being able to find the satisfaction that dissolves the frustration, oof, feels good, tell you what.
How good it feels at the end of each day. I mean, this is the magic of generator.
Mm-hmm.
And until that motor is the controlling mechanism in their life, you know what to say. You know, they're part of the normal world and all the problems that go with it. You know, as I said, the knowledge is for children. It's very difficult for adults. It's difficult for manifesting generators. I know, I've watched them. And yet this is not about improbable or impossible, but it's about you alone, because nobody else can do it. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's what you have to grasp. To be abnormal is often something that is very, very socially difficult. It can be uncomfortable. It means you operate differently from other people, that you have different criteria, that you have a different truth. They may not agree with it.
And that point right there, extremely important to hammer in the awareness around how it can be uncomfortable. Like imagine somebody has an expectation from you. Do the dishes. And you go, It's your turn to do the dishes. What are you going to do about that? Are you going to honor the response? Are you not going to do the dishes and allow them to deal with what they have to deal with? Or are you going to cave and do what's expected of you and disrespect yourself? You know, it's not so black and white all the time once you start to step into your own unique differentiation process. Imagine for a moment that you've got a determination. So your eating style, your food intake. And you've got this determination that is all about eating in a quiet environment. You know, calm, peaceful, quiet, serene, nothing is happening, there's no stimulation, it's very peaceful. And someone asks you out onto a date at a busy restaurant, and you go, not there, no way, I don't eat where it's busy. Oh, well, that's different. What do you mean you don't eat in restaurants? You know how socially uncomfortable that could be. And what are you going to do about it? Are you going to allow yourself what's best for you? Or will you cave to society's expectations? It's a very deep question, worthy of feeling one's way through.
You know, you have to be able to stand in that as a generator, because it's so easy to get caught in being manipulated. The not self generator is so open to being manipulated. But you see, if you stay in that response, nobody, no God, no goddess, no demon or angel, no being on this planet can move you in any direction that is incorrect. This knowledge is about your authority. And that authority has to be 100%. It's not about anybody else's. I don't care what their relationship is to you. It is about you and you alone. Because only when you stand on that authority can you embrace this life and can you embrace the other. Only then can you have the beings in your life that you deserve, that are waiting for you. I can't leave off talking about generators without saying something about the solar plex system.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you really want to know about the solar plex system, join a Locke's course. I'm a very unemotional being. I have one gate in the emotional system, and it's unconscious. I have lived a life in which I have gone through the highs and the lows of what it is to take in the emotional frequency. I have loved it, and I have hated it deeply. I had a final solution. I was going to kill all the emotional people and free myself. I just didn't know how to do it, so I gave up on that one. You know, the emotional system is really what life is about, in the way in which we experience. Where the sacral is the life force, emotions give us our drama. It's the drama that enriches the movie. As a matter of fact, the movie would be quite boring without the solar plex center to sort of juice it up, you know. It's where we get our drama. And of course, the dilemma of the emotional system is that the moment that the emotional system is in place, you have the great law. No truth in the now. Great law. No truth in the now. Now, half of humanity is emotional. This is not a planet where everybody just gets it, right? You understand? No truth in the now. This means that it is not possible to make any kind of existential commitment to anything. 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 So you're an emotional generator. And you're waiting for Prince Charming. Waiting and waiting and waiting, as is the way of generators. And then out of the blue, Prince Charming shows up. Wow, this works, you know? And then you're an emotional being. No truth in the now. Prince Charming may be a frog. Prince Charmings often turn out to be frogs. Rarely do frogs turn into Prince Charming. I want to tell you, it is normally the other way around, right? And if you're an emotional being, you can't tell the difference between the frog and the prince anyway. I mean, you start off thinking they're a prince and you wake up in the morning and they're a frog already. And then you're really in trouble because you don't want to be with a frog. You don't. This is the emotional being.
And a little nugget on that waiting process so that you can avoid the frogs and find the prince and the princesses that you're really looking for is that not only do we wait for clarity, which is not a mentally decided upon thing that I've weighed the pros and cons and now I know what I want. It's not that. Waiting for clarity means giving the body time to chemically process movement through space-time, and eventually clarity arrives in the mind, and what has been received is from the body's authority as the clear way forward with the relevant information. And so this notion of waiting isn't simply sitting down staring at a wall blankly. This notion of waiting is the notion of breathing. It's the notion of being with the body along its process. So as a generator, your body is always responding to something. It could be a simple change in temperature causing you to get a jacket. It could be the fact that the sun is up and now it's morning and you get up. It could be responding to the fact that you're tired and you want to lay down. The key is breathing and being with your breath, being with what is in this moment occurring inside your body so that you can learn to listen to that voice, that sacral that says yes, and the sacral that says no.
The wave. And you see, it's so easy to be able to think, oh, gee, I wouldn't like to have that as my design, But then again, we all have our problems, don't we? And you see, to be an emotional being for me is so incredible because I see it from another perspective. See, I'm a splenic person. It actually means that I'm incredibly ignorant. No joke. Because you see, I only know what I know in the moment. That's it. I mean, I'm a splenic person. That is my authority. And in the moment that my spleen, guides me, is the moment that our relationship is over. It's not like I can go to the spleen and hold a conversation. Why did you do that? It's instantaneous. So I never know why I say yes or no to anything. Honestly, I really don't. I have no idea. None whatsoever. Somebody says something to me and I hear myself say this or that. This is my spleen at work. And sometimes I say yes and I think, maybe we should re-examine this. Well, it's too late. And it's not like I can go to my spleen and say, well, what was that about? I'd like to understand your reasoning on this one because mentally I think this is a terrible thing to get into, right? But it's the spleen. So I sort of feel very ignorant, because if anybody ever asks me why I do anything, I honestly don't know. I don't. Okay. So then you have an emotional person. Now, boy, are they ever different from me. They're so different, it's unbelievable. Because they go through this wave. And all along the wave, they're taking a different perspective. I remember a wonderful, weird friend of mine who's off in the Orient. And I remember teaching him human design. Emotional guy, very emotional guy. And he had a very intense private thing with me. I think Randy was there too. And the next day, I get this phone call from him. And he says to me, I don't understand. The day before, he was right there. He got every single bit of it. It was right there. I was right on his wave. He got it. Next morning he wakes up someplace else on his wave, and that place in his wave, the only thing that belongs there, I guess, are burgers and motorcycles. I don't know. And he wakes up in that place in his wave, and it's like, what did he say?
As an emotional authority being, I totally, completely resonate with what's being said right there because I've heard of this thing called state-dependent memory. So it's like depending on the state of being that you're in, influences what field of memory you have access to. And so I've noticed that depending on where I am in my wave determines the entire field of memory and behavior and thinking process that I have access to. When I'm in a lower point in my wave, I only have access to so much information and certain perspectives. When I'm in a higher, more joyous point in my wave, I have access to different perspectives and different states of being and different thoughts and different patterns of behavior. And it's very fascinating to see how different points in the wave can be felt as an experience within my own vehicle and life.
No truth in the now?
No.
No truth in the now? It just moves. But emotional beings are deeper than anybody else as a result. If they give their wave a chance. Time. Oh, how everything is about time in this life. You see, the great dilemma of an emotional generator is that they think that they're going to miss something if they're waiting. And more than that, to be an emotional being is to understand that your first response is always, I don't know yet. Your first response is always, wait, wait. And of course, this is so difficult to begin with for a generator to accept response to start with. To be an emotional generator and accept that anybody that comes to you in a moment where you either have a positive or negative response, in that moment, it doesn't mean a damn thing. Nothing. And if you act on it, you're an idiot. Because there is no completion, no truth, no fulfillment in that. You don't have the whole picture. So you have that person that says to you, I would like to do this and this with you. Would you like to? Your inner response to that is, no, I really wouldn't. But that's not the answer. The answer is, I'll let you know. The answer is, get out of my face now, basically. Get out of my aura. I'll process it. You come back later and check it out. It's their responsibility. It's so hard for human beings to reject human beings. And it's really tough when your response is yes, yes, I think you're a prince or a princess, yes. And you don't wait to see if they turn into a frog, because if you wait, you'll see. And maybe they do turn into a frog, but maybe it's not a bad frog. Maybe it's a survivable frog that you can put up with for a bit, as long as they get back to their princiness, But at least you know what you're getting. And you get to analyze it. You get to take it in. You get to feel it. See, if you're an emotional being, everything is about your feelings. Your truth, your authority is your feeling. And no feeling in the moment is real. It's a sample over time. Emotional beings are samplers. You're here to sample beings. You take them in slowly, like you're sipping good wine. You check it out. And slowly, as you take them in over time, boy, do you ever know them. See, I don't know anybody. I really don't. I don't. I got a closed aura, and I'm a splenic manifestor. If somebody steps in my face, there's a part of me that says I like them or I don't like them. I know nothing else. I don't know why I like them or I don't like them. I don't know how long I'm going to like them or not like them. I have no idea. None. Things just come and go in this life for me. It's just the way it is. It's all in the moment. But if you're an emotional being, you have all this depth. You know, if you know me long enough as an emotional being, you know why you don't like me or like me. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you really know. You've been there, done that, went through the whole arc, saw all the movies, all the different perspectives. And then you have clarity. You never have truth. No emotional being ever has truth. Not 100%, ever, ever. Not even 99.9, you know? If you're lucky, you're in the 70 to 80 range, you know? It's just clarity. Emotional clarity. See, the emotional system is there to drive us on the material plane, to drive us through this life. If you look at the experiential way, the fates sit there, you know? This is what life is about. And emotional blindness is a horrendous thing. Our world suffers deeply from emotional beings who make decisions in the moment. In the moment. As if there's any truth in that moment when they're high as a kite and they say yes. As if that yes is love or friendship or anything. Or when they're down low and they say no, as if that really is their truth. It is not. It is a sample of their perspective in the moment. Nothing else. Nothing else. And you see, if you wait, there is such wisdom in emotional beings waiting to be expressed. The kind of wisdom that has no words. None. You can feel it from them. You can feel it. See, an emotional system that's clean. I know. I felt them. They're very beautiful. I mean, the emotions are so sexy. It's where pleasure is. It's where all these wonderful things are. It's attractive. But if the emotional being that is carrying that attractive wave is not correct, you know what's going to happen. And not just to them, the other 50% who are open beings. What I have known in my life, the partners that I've had who are emotional, my mother, my sisters, I've watched this movie, what it does. And to be ignorant of it. And yet, what a beautiful thing. I mean, the solar plexus is really profound. But again, like all these things, it is a battle that rests within each and every one of you, because you have to know this yourself. You have to know it, and you have to live your mechanic.
On the notion of living one's mechanic as an emotional being, I can share a short story about learning very specifically how feelings are not a substitute for clarity. So there was some conversation going online and somebody said something that I felt a certain way about. And so I sat in meditation. I sat in meditation because I was about to respond and it felt heated. And I was like, I don't know. Do I really want to say this? So I sat in meditation. I waited 20 minutes in my meditation. And by the end of those 20 minutes, I still wanted to say what I wanted to say. I still felt like it was important, or that it's what I'm here to respond to and what I'm here to say. And so I typed up my message, I sent my response, and then I got up and I went. About an hour later, I came to realization, I came to clarity that I was with strong feelings still after sitting 20 minutes in meditation. And what I ended up saying was not in alignment with my clarity. There was in fact nothing to say. And in that moment, I recognized I acted hastily. I did not wait for the emotional clarity that I'm here to wait for. It can be so tempting to act from a height, because I was feeling fired up and passionate and alive and this is what I'm here to say. And clarity disagreed. Clarity had something else to say, which was nothing. And lo and behold, some people were upset about what I had to say, and there was some drama that ensued about that. You know how the solar plexus brings this drama of life. A lot of the negative drama comes from acting on feelings which are not clarity. The clarity is something that is so worthy of waiting for. There's nothing quite like it.
If you are an emotional generator, your response over time will bring you the clarity you need. And don't think you're missing anything while you're getting your data. You're not. You're not. You're not missing anything at all. You're going to get what's correct for you. And ultimately, when you make a decision based on that clarity, it is going to be right for you. It's your wisdom to be clear.
Mm-hmm.
We all have to depend on the emotional world. It's the emotional world that carries all the experience. It carries all the details of the movement. Only emotional beings have the potential to be true masters on this plane. And we need to be led by their clarity instead of being distorted by it. And obviously, emotional generators, incorrect. They are the deep distortion on this plane. Non-surrendered, trying to be existential. So we have a world of highs and lows, and a world of frustration and the lack of fulfillment in the potential of each human being. And this is the life force that we so hold on to keep us going. It would be nice to see that all go away. But one being at a time, eh? You know, in this era of human design where we have the most incredible growth, I know now that there will always be enough beings that are attracted to this knowledge. And there will always be those that are ready to make that jump. There will be others that will teach their children and their grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it's all about, to give each person the right. It's just the right. You know, if you don't take the opportunity, what to do? You know? And this is not about belief. It never has been. It's only about mechanics. As an emotional generator, yes, it takes a great deal of courage to start on that journey. But oh boy, are you going to get your rewards? Because you will. The wisdom that comes with the patience, the discernment that brings the right forces and movement into your life, the satisfaction that you can derive from that, and leaving behind the burden of carrying frustration in your life, and what you will mean to all those around you,
Mm-hmm.
to envelop people in an aura that is healthy and whole, that is correct in the way it operates, that changes the way in which we understand the emotional system, that we can derive from it, as those of us on the outside, the beauty that it brings to our life, the dynamic that it brings, the pleasure that it brings.
Mm.
But one by one. It's the only way.
It's the only way. One by one person at a time. Waking up to the true mechanics and nature of their being, of their life. So that's been Ra Uru Hu on the generator signature vibration. It's a talk that's very close to me as a generator, and it's a talk that I hope you've enjoyed. You know, Ra mentioned about how there will be those who teach their children and grandchildren, and previously I had mentioned how It's as if my inner child has come back alive since I've began to trust my inner authority and type strategy. And I can only imagine the joy and the wonder of children growing up and never losing their inner child, of people that are in their 20s, people in their 30s, people in their 40s, people in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, with their inner child alive and well throughout the whole of their experience. Never getting caught up in this rat race of be an adult, pay your bills, earn money, work for minimum wage, all this gear-turning, cross-of-planning nonsense. To really be born and to be cultivated, to be nourished, to be well-fed as yourself, to be taught how to honor yourself from the very beginning, so that when the temptations of this world come at you and try to pull you away from your truth, you know who you are. You know how to make decisions as yourself. And this world does not pull you away from who you are. This world only gives you more and more joyous opportunities to discover who you are and how you interact with the rest of the world. In satisfaction, in success, in peace, and in surprise. So that's about all I have left for today. Wishing you a happily now, ever after. Take care, and bye for now.
If you have enjoyed the show and would like to learn more about how all of this applies specifically to you, then kindly refer to the link in this video's description, Private Consultation. Here, we can dive into all of the details together in a recorded call. May your signature vibration of satisfaction, success, peace, and surprise find you in a good way.